The Dearborn Independent, Chronicler of the Neglected Truth, March 12, 1927, Volume 27, Number 21. Mr. Ford's page of the Dearborn Independent. More about the signs of the times. Businessmen do not think of themselves as leaders of social movements, but they are. Not a single system of business exists, good or bad, but has been taught to the people by businessmen. They have more influence on society than politicians, schoolmasters, or clergymen because their contact is constant and their influence unavoidable. Every bad habit of unthrift and debt is taught the people by their business guides. This leadership should turn around and head in the opposite direction. Businessmen should be readers of the signs of the times to warn the people to wise action and safe building on sound foundations. Last week, this page gave a few general remarks on the signs of the times. These signs exist, they're legible, they're guideposts by which the observant may know the road. Nature gives previous notice to coming changes. The roots of the tree have news of spring by the subtle wireless before less sensitive observers are aware. Human nature also, by invisible writing, notifies all of growth and changes. The innermost personality of man has its own delicate wireless which gives advance information, but its voice is usually drowned by the noisier surface notes. Human society also has its systems of signs in politics and economics, all of which can be clearly read by those who look for them. If we knew these signs in ordinary things, just the common daily affairs, it would be of much benefit. An engine gives signs of needed care, and so does the body. If we fuel the motor in the wrong way, the performance of the engine quickly notifies us. The same is true of fueling of the body. Directly wrong course is entered upon, signals begin to wave, and if our perception is what it ought to be, we see these signs. If our wisdom is what it ought to be, we act upon them. The affairs of our people in general would be greatly benefited if our businessmen were better readers of the signs of the times. To be a businessman is to assume the responsibility of economic leadership. Read that again, please, and consider it. When a man undertakes a business in his community, he virtually says, I am taking upon myself part of the direction of your economic life, just as physician takes upon himself part of the direction of your health, and the schoolmaster part of the direction of your children, and the minister of religion part of the direction of your attitude towards spiritual realities. Now, if the physician acted upon the principles of urging upon his people every medical vagary, if the schoolmaster supplied the frivolities more than the necessities, if the clergyman were to make confusion, extravagance, and responsibility the end of his business, everyone would feel that these men were debasing their professions. It is exactly the same when the businessman does these things. He has more opportunity to do harm than anyone else because his contact with people is constant, while that of the other is occasional. It is therefore part of the businessman's duty to his community to read the signs of the times that he may be a good and helpful leader to his people in their economic interests. He has no more right to mislead them, to lure them into wrong practices than has the clergyman. As it is, however, local businessmen are the agents on whom the inventors of wrong economic practices depend for their popularization and spread. No wrong economic practice, no disastrous systems of doing business could possibly get a foothold except through the local businessmen. There is no question at all that so-called periods of extravagance on the part of the people originate outside the people. They originate in the minds of those who wish to speed up the people's spending of their earnings. There is no dangerous business practice in existence today that was not deliberately taught to the people, forced upon the people by men who had no thought of their general social benefit. If the people find themselves buried in debt, with every dollar of the pay envelope mortgaged for some installment, it is because they have been taught it by businessmen. Teaching and leading the people to invest wisely, to begin getting things that make their lives more productive, of real value, is one thing. Teaching them to forget their natural abhorrence of debt, leading them to forego their independence by working for a small army of installment collectors, is quite another thing. If the careful, thrifty, constructive attitude of the average family towards their economic responsibilities and possibilities has been lowered, it is the result of systematic education by a certain type of business system. Now, when these things begin to appear and to flourish, the wise man sees a sign of coming danger and prepares for it. Systems wrongly based cannot succeed. They must fail. And the colossal extent of everything we do here in America brings the failure earlier and makes it harder than it would be otherwise. The self-limited business can weather any gale, but vast edifices built on a gamble and the people's extravagance collapse at once. People who can see the signs of the times begin their own reformation. Those who are in places of leadership lend their good counsel. If the signs are observed in time, the situation is saved, and we have gained some experience which will prevent a repetition of the mistake.